Okay, sorry, I tried to record this video like a bunch of times, and about stupid things kept happening and errors and stuff like that. So I'm gonna try and get it right this time. Hopefully things should go well. But I wanted to make a video basically about how I became a libertarian, and I'd say it all starts when I was young, and I think a lot of times so it could be to start when you're young. You know, I thought that I wanted to be free. I was willing to be free. And, you know, we go through a stage in life where we become teenagers and we're smart and we're not so dependent on our parents anymore, and we go through a quote-unquote rebellious stage, and it's viewed as bad. But really, it's kind of a good thing, and unfortunately it gets worn out as we get older. You know, if we'd stay that rebellious our whole life, there'd be a lot less government right now. Now, I'm not encouraging that you smoke weed or do anything stupid just to be rebellious, because that's just pointless and dumb. But, and I'm saying you should, you know, remember that authority, people often say, respect authority. Respect authority. That's just an excuse to moralize what authority does, really. That's all it is. And so anyways, it started when I was very young, and me and my parents were building a house, and our local government threatened to fine us if we didn't finish building our house on time, and I thought that was stupid and wrong. Because it is wrong, it's sick and wrong, it's our property, we bought it, why is it any of their business, you know? And apparently it has to do with like a community thing, a society thing, where other people's property value goes down and it becomes like a slum, which is really just everybody should be run on an individual basis. You know, everything should be individualized, because doing what's best for society is always what's best for the individual. And so that's why it was. It just made me really mad. And if they are going to sue people for doing this, which they shouldn't, it's just sick. But if they are going to, they should at least, you know, see to it that you're making progress, and not sue people who are making progress and just target the lazy people who don't do anything. But oh well. And then I started hearing about more laws and more evil regulations, like the property tax. Like, we own our property, why should the government have any rights to it? You know, technically now we don't own property. The government owns everything because they can tax you on anything they want, you know. So basically it's like socialism or communism or not. You can't own your own things. And so, you know, that's kind of how things went. And then especially the judicial branch I hated the most, because the judicial branch is the branch that was throwing innocent people in jail, or people in jail who shouldn't be in jail, and stuff like that, and just acting really tyrannical. I came to hate them far more than I hated the other two branches of government. And so basically what I did was, you know, I did some research before I did more research on how bad the judicial branch was. My parents sort of like whittled away at my natural free will, and basically because I was raised in an evangelical conservative home, I became a conservative, and I was in favor of, you know, George Bush. I thought he was a pretty good president. I was in favor of the wars. I wanted to ban gay marriage and drugs and stuff like that. Even though, you know, I may not necessarily like some of these things. Like, you don't have to like gay marriage, but it doesn't mean you force your neighbor not to do it, because marriage is something that's defined by the dictionaries rather than the dictators, you know. But yeah, even though they whittled down at my freedom and turned me into like a neoconservative and stuff like that, I still hated the judicial branch more than anything, because I always thought about those people who were rotting in jail who shouldn't be, and it got to a certain point where I just hated them so much. Every time I passed by a courthouse, in my mind, I saw dragons flying over it and breathing fire on it. It was really weird. Like, I just pictured huge dragons just coming down and incinerating it. Because it would just make me so mad at how evil they are. And then, you know, later, I wanted to do research on how bad our government was, so I started hearing about conspiracy theories about the Illuminati and population control and stuff like that, secret societies, the Freemasons. And so that's when I started to realize, oh, it's not just the judicial branch. All three branches are whack. All three branches are bad and, you know, beyond corruption. And so eventually I started watching this guy called In the End, I Was Right. And he is basically an anti-statist, as he calls himself, or an anarcho-capitalist voluntarist. And he talked about eliminating government. And that's when I started to think, oh, we don't need government, you know. And he made a lot of good points, but I wasn't quite smart back then, so I couldn't really argue as well. And so I decided, you know, by default, I would just be an anarchist, or continue being a neo-conservative like I've always been. But, you know, I kind of just went through a stage where I didn't want to believe anything. I heard about all this satanic, evil conspiracy theories that the government was in, and I didn't like it at all. And then I heard, or I saw this guy at my church, one of my friends at church came in wearing a Ron Paul pin. And we were talking about politics, and he said, "Did you hear about Ron Paul?" And I'm like, I think I've heard of him, but, you know, I'm into conspiracies. I don't think anyone is good. But I'll research him anyway, is what I said, and I did. And I agreed with Ron Paul on just about everything he said. It was weird, but, you know, I liked it. And so, you know, I almost felt like politics was just, there was a Hitler over here and another Stalin here, and this guy's like Mao. And I have Ron Paul, and he's actually reasonable, and he actually wants to be good, not hurt people, you know. And then after that, I did more research on libertarianism. Keep in mind, I still hate the judicial branch 10 times more than the other two branches. I started trying to look up bad stuff about our judicial branch, and I saw a video on YouTube called "Family Court Judges Are Like Evil Emperor Palpatine," and it was taken from an Alex Jones video, but put it on someone else's account. And so that's how I learned who Alex Jones was. And I looked up Alex Jones, and I figured out he had a YouTube channel, so I subscribed to him, and I liked him, and I agreed with a lot of stuff he had to say. And he had Ron Paul on and stuff like that, and so it was pretty great. It still is pretty great. He does a lot of really hard work and puts out a lot of great stuff. I know he may not be a quote-unquote perfect person, but nobody is, and he works really hard for our freedom, so everyone should just respect him. But anyways, you know, and that's how I started getting more and more into libertarianism, and then I started researching, again, like these anti-statist, anarcho-capitalist things, because my friend at church who got me into Ron Paul also told me about that. So I'm like, oh, okay. So, you know, and maybe this guy was right. And then I started looking at him again, and now that I'm smarter and I know more, his videos began to make sense, and I started looking at more videos. And so that's how I realized we can have a free market. You know, we're always told as a kid that lying and murder are wrong, and forcing other people to do things they don't want to do, and damaging other people's property is wrong. That's what we learn as a kid. But the government does that stuff all the time. If you want to sell drugs, they arrest you. They don't let you do with your body what you want. They can take your property away if they want. That's yours. You own it. And so that's, you know, when I started to realize, you know, maybe we don't need government. Maybe we can function on a free market. You know, government is bad. You know. And so, just, yeah, that's how I started really becoming just a radical libertarian, talking about like anarcho-capitalism, eliminating government, and stuff like that. And, you know, so one more, or two more points I want to point out is that typically, when somebody's really into politics, it's not because they want to be annoying, and sometimes they're a bit arrogant, but that's not always it. A lot of times, the fact that they care about you and other people, and this is usually a term applied to liberals, but it's really anyone who's really into politics, is that they care about their fellow man, usually, and they don't want bad to come to them. Like, if you're liberal, you want to stop the evil corporations from hurting them, but the irony is you want to take their money away. But, I mean, me being a libertarianism, I don't want the government hurting people, and it just makes me absolutely sick when I hear about all those people who are rotting in jail who shouldn't be. You know, it gets to the point whenever I walk past a jail, I almost think that it's like Auschwitz, and all the cops become like brown coats, really, because, I mean, they're kidnapping people. They're just kidnappers who wear a badge, and they work for a mafia that calls itself government and claims just because they have a monopoly on force means they're good. I mean, this can get awfully offended to some of you, but if you're offended by this, just remember it's the truth. It's how it is. If you don't believe that murder and kidnapping is wrong, then maybe to you this isn't the truth. But if you think murder and kidnapping is wrong, you have to accept this reality. And so, you know, ultimately, that's how I came to become a libertarianism. And it's just like what Ron Paul said, just like what Lou Rockwell said, it starts when you're young, and it continues to get over. And so, you know, I understand a lot of you might be offended by this, but, again, it's just my story. And feel free to post comments below or post a video about your story, how you became your political view. You don't have to be libertarianism. It can be Korean Party or liberalism or conservatism or whatever. Just, you know, post a link below how you came to feel politically the way you are now. Thanks, and Auf Wiedersehen.